so much. Appreciate that. Great. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Wow. Humbled by this. Let me just have a few statements here at the podium before I get into my major talk here. I'm very humbled by this honor. Thanks to everyone from the AMA of New York. This was quite a shock to me, and now that I've heard the process, I'm even more shocked that I made it. I think maybe the committee, when it was deliberating for me, must be meeting in Colorado, maybe, and deliberating. That's a joke, to get a little humor here tonight. Let me congratulate my esteemed fellow inductees, Beth Comstock, who I've known for many years and admired her work, and Professor Kotler, who I've learned from for many, many decades, and it's benefited from his brilliance. The first person I really want to specifically thank, amongst many others, is my wife, who's here, Sarah. She's put up with me for 20 years. You know, when you get into these jobs, it's a big commitment of your life, and you have to have a very strong partner or spouse, and I've been very fortunate to have Sarah there with me all the way, and we celebrate our 20 years this year, and I couldn't have done it without her, so there has to be somebody there that's by you all the sides. So thank you, Sarah. Love you very much. Next, I've got, you don't get these awards for yourself. They're really a byproduct of many colleagues, and the colleagues over the years have always made me a lot smarter than I actually am. I joke, I went to Harvard as an undergrad, and Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer were in my class at Harvard. Steve Ballmer was my football manager at Harvard, actually, the retired CEO of Microsoft. And I always say, Steve was a lot smarter than me at Harvard, but he wasn't $12 billion smarter than me. But I've been I've benefited in my career from having a long, long list of remarkable people working with me. Many of them very, very smart women who have worked for me and worked with great passion and commitment. I don't think any of them are here tonight, but I did want to acknowledge a number of them because without them, I wouldn't be standing here. They have delivered true excellence and brought tremendous amount to the field of marketing also. At MasterCard, people like Bonnie McEnany, Deborah Coughlin, Maeva Heffler, Gail Regioni, Meltem Tekeli. At Seagram, Judy Levin. At Allstate, Lisa Cochran, and currently at Coca-Cola, the very talented Wendy Clark. I'd also like to recognize that, some people my administrative assistants, those people don't get recognized very often, but they really keep the boiler running by shoveling the coal in. And I've got two great ones in Atlanta, Mary Kondo and Molly Walters, and they've done a great job. I'd also like to thank and recognize a group of senior advisors, advisors in my life who've guided me through and given me a lot of great advice for both personal and professional things. One in particular is here, John Birnbach, John's been a great advisor to me. Also other people like Phil Geyer, Pete Hart, David Acker. I've spent a lot of time reviewing a lot of David's books. Don Keogh, John Costello is a good friend, and John Hunter. All of those people have had a major influence on me and have been a great supporter for me. And of course, you never get here without great agency partners. I've been very fortunate in my career to work with great agencies and some of them are here tonight, McCann Erickson, who without people coming up with brilliant ideas for McCann Erickson, helped so many careers be built. Leo Burnett, Wieden Kennedy, Ogilvy and Mather, J. Walter Thompson, and thank you for hosting this event, Dentsu from Japan, Y&R, Crispin Porter, TVWA, Gray, Starcom MediaVest, because when you have all that great creative, you have to have a great connections plan also. Momentum, you have to have great experiential agencies and sports marketing agencies. It's not just about advertising. Marketing is much more than just advertising. Great digital agencies like Digitas, great PR agencies like Taylor that I've worked with, and many others in design and experiential and in research like Nielsen or Cantor. All of those, you can't be successful in any business with any brand without great agency partners. And I've always believed that the dirty little secret is, you know, you have to, sometimes the client can be dysfunctional, and you have to have a great part. If you treat your agencies like vendors or suppliers, that's not the way to be. You have to have a partnership relationship with them. Finally, of course, I want to thank, I guess, the Academy, you know, I guess which would be the selection committee. Just to be clear, this isn't the end of the road for me. I've still got a few miles left in me. But you know, when you step back and you have the opportunity and you build that statue of the inductees someday, as Joanna was mentioning, in our world and in Hall of Fames, you have to decide. The great challenge when you go into a Hall of Fame is, what jersey do you wear, or what hat do you wear, right? And as you heard, you know, I have a lot of teams that I've been on. So I created this jersey, and I have Coca-Cola here on the front, but here I've got my time at Mobil Oil, which is the Pegasus. I've got the beautiful, elegant crest of Seagram. On the sleeve, I've got my first job out of college was IBM, so they're here. Oh yeah, I can't forget the good hands of Allstate over here. Got my nickname here on the back, Priceless, and my year of induction, 2014. So that's my jersey here. And my statue, I do not want designed by the artist Botero, please. No, thank you. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about marketing and a little bit about where it's all going and things like that. So, you know, we've had a lot of great success at the Coca-Cola Company. I wish it was simple like this, like up on the screen. These were a little simpler days, you know, and it's really, a lot of my career was all about simple brand building, right? That was an easier time, much simpler time. Now, though, our marketplace is totally different. We have to recognize it's totally different. And classic brands like Coca-Cola, we absolutely have to mean new things to new generations. If we try to, you know, the future is not an extrapolation of the past. You know, memo to everybody here. And we have to reflect, when we think about millennials and how we talk and engage with millennials particularly, and they're not the only cohort to talk to, but they're an important cohort, and they will be the largest cohort in the world in a very short time. We have to reflect their values. We have to go to them and not expect that they're going to come to you and your values as a company and as a brand. And so millennials, they're a different type of consumer, and they're loyal consumers if you reflect and go to them on their own terms. And so as a consequence, I call this the Taos value system. And it means we have to be much more transparent as companies and brands. We have to be much more authentic and stand for something that's true. Otherwise, they'll see right through you. We have to be very organic in the sense of natural, and we have to be much more focused on sustainable and values that reflect sustainability. That's what this new generation is focused for. That's what the millennial generation is demanding from us more and more. And so, when we think about how we have to evolve in everything we do, recognizing we need these new skill sets in order to do that. New skill sets, new processes, new tools. We have to be able to engage socially with these consumers. We have to do it real time. We have to create a lot more content than we've ever had before. We have to have real-time, ongoing conversations with people like we've never had before. The days of just sitting back, the amount of the time where we just sit back and let's create that new ad that we're going to run out in 9 months or 12 months, that's still going to happen, but it's a much smaller part of the pie. So it's much more faster, experiential marketing. The millennials, they want to experience brands more. They want co-creation more. They want to be involved in a different way than ever before. And so everything has to be shareable. So it's an entirely different mindset. And as a result of that, we started to think, okay, we need to do things differently. And as was referenced, we came up with a new process, a new whole philosophy we called liquidating linked. How do we take stories and spread them a lot more, much more shareable, and that create greater value? And so about a few years ago, we said, we got to get ahead of this. We got to restructure our whole thinking and our thought process in order that we can have liquid ideas that are contagious, that can move around and engage with people in a different way, ideas that people are shareable and people want to share and spread. And it required us to really rethink our whole mindset of how we engage with consumers or with people. And so, and find, you know, and also, though, create ideas that were linked, had some common linkages. And that's why this whole notion of liquid and link got created. Now, what I wanted to share with you, just very quickly as an example, is one of the most powerful examples of this that we're living through right now is our 2014 FIFA World Cup. The World Cup for Coca-Cola, that will kick off actually in 2 weeks from tomorrow, will be the largest marketing activation program the company has ever done in its history. 175 markets of our 207 markets in the world will activate the World Cup program. We'll spend a lot of money, I can say, with our Starcom, our media partners, will spend a lot of money on our behalf. Our great partners will spend a lot of money there. But it's also the largest social event ever on the planet. It's going to be the amount of social noise, the amount of activation that's going to occur around this. There will be over 3 billion unique impressions. And fundamentally, we think that this is a unique opportunity for us to engage with people in a way that we had never engaged with them before. And so where we went to was, we said, this isn't the World Cup. This is the World's Cup. How do we make it a more inclusive act that we can spread in a different way and talk about it in a different way? And it was a cup that truly belonged to all the nations of the world, all the cultures, all the backgrounds, and all the sporting passions. And so we got FIFA to approve a little apostrophe there, and we created this whole World's Cup platform. And it really, though, gave us a platform for real-time content creation, 24/7 kind of consumer engagement. It was a social platform for participation by great storytelling, which is what we wanted to do more and more. The first big part of this was you needed to have an identity system, something that was grounded in authenticity and felt Brazilian. And so we found an artist, a street artist in Brazil named Speto, and Speto created an identity system for us, and this visual identity system spanned and went everywhere. Everywhere from the plane up in the upper left corner that carried the World Cup trophy to 90 countries, to the can, to the trucks, to vending machines, etc. And it reflected how people in Brazil, it wasn't you know, Ipanema Beach, it wasn't Sugarloaf, it wasn't kind of trite symbols of Brazil, you know, bikinis, you know, that kind of world. It reflected authentic Brazilian culture. Then what we did was we took the trophy, we were entrusted with the trophy, we brought it to 90 countries in the world. 90 countries. We took it all around the world since last September. It's now on its final leg in Brazil and visiting all the states of Brazil. The trophy tour was a fabulous success for us. And we met 45 heads of state, came because the mythology around the trophy is only a head of state or a previous winner can physically touch the trophy. 45 heads of state came out and touched and held the trophy, which was a tremendous, you know, the opportunity to engage with heads, I mean, the heads of Japan and Colombia and Mexico, huge countries, greeted and welcomed the trophy. So it was a great opportunity for customer programs, consumer programs. 1 million consumers had their picture with that trophy. The largest, I believe, the largest experiential marketing program in history by any company, quite honestly. Now, as a byproduct of this, though, we got a tremendous amount of stories. That's what we wanted, great and compelling stories. I've got about 15 stories, but I'm only going to show you one tonight, because we don't have a lot of time. But it was one that struck me, and it struck people all around the world. It's a story of a man from Argentina and how the World Cup played such a part of his life. And I want you to see this and see how this particular story might touch you. And it really laid the foundation for a very powerful and emotional connection for our brand with the people of the world. So why don't let me show you this.
Victor Del Aguila is a football fan, but he's not like most fans. He enjoyed a happy childhood until he was 12 years old. when he had an accident that changed his life. He was electrocuted, fell 15 meters, and lost both arms.
El fútbol me trajo de vuelta a la vida.
His love for football helped him to carry on. On June 25th, 1978, he went to the FIFA World Cup final match.
35 años atrás repleto, no entraba un alfiler.
As he was used to overcoming obstacles in life, Victor jumped the wire fence and ran through the field. Tarantini exploded with happiness, trembled with emotion. His legs loosened. Filiol fell down on his knees. And finally, there came Victor. So it happened. The most famous celebration in football history was born. The soul embrace.
Es una pasión enorme, el fútbol no tiene límite.
Today, all three need to relive that hug. The hug that taught us that football is played with the feet and the heart, and that the trophy can also be raised with the soul. So let Victor raise it.
It's a powerful story. It's a very powerful story. As I said, we got 15 of these, and they would make you cry. And so I said, I know I can make you cry. Now I want to make you buy. You know, that's the key. That's the key. That's the key here. But, you know, there are different commercials and different kind of consumer engagement points that are designed to stimulate consumption and things that we would otherwise knew. But to get that powerful emotional connection with people is really, really the thing that we're focused on, also as it related to this, to separate us from other sponsors and other marketers in this. So I think that fundamentally, this is also a great platform for our partners, our what we would consider to be some of our external network. We'll have the largest activation with our customers around the world. You can see some numbers here around Walmart or McDonald's or 7-Eleven or Carrefour. So it gets activated around the world, massive amounts of in-store displays that will hopefully get lots of attention. Huge for us. The other thing that we did, that we needed a very strong social media hook, and that's what we call the happiness flag. On the opening match in 2 weeks from tomorrow, the opening match, on the pitch will be a massive flag, it's called the happiness flag. People have sent in their pictures. 230,000 people have sent in selfies of themselves, of course. Selfies have sent in a selfie. It's going into a photo mosaic that will be composed of a flag that will be of the icons and similar the icons of Spetto, the artist. It will be unfurled on the pitch there before the game. There will be no Coke branding on it, but a lot of people will know it's Coke because of the nature of the iconography. And people will be able, through technology, find their photo. They'll have a code, and they will be able to find specifically their photo on that flag. So while we can't bring those 220,000 people to the match because my budget is down to its last $6 billion, and I can't afford that, you get them there virtually, and they feel part of the experience, and it's very part of that whole social mindset. So it's an example at a quick level of what Liquid and Link looks like, right? You know, taking a powerful idea, spreading it around the world, leveraging that in order to build your brand and build your business. So, you know, a lot of this then becomes, okay, where is it going? Where's all this going for us with marketing? I would argue that our ability to take advantage of a great platform like the World Cup and get the most benefit from our investment is really going to be, and our best ideas is really going to be in the future, how we are networked as an organization. So a thing that I'm talking about a lot internally and externally is when I think about the evolution of marketing, and when I think about how companies evolve from local, multi-country, international, global, I think the next game, quite honestly, is networked. And I think that those organizations that are networked internally, externally, and with consumers will be the most successful organization. So what does this mean? I think what's a networked organization? First of all, I would argue what it's not. A networked organization, it's not a siloed corporation. It's executing against a long-term strategy that assumes certainties and variables in the market, because that game is over. It is over for big companies. We are living in the time of unbelievable disruption and change that's unprecedented. And we don't know these variables and these uncertainties now, and we can't apply the past to the future. It's just not going to happen. And so you need flexibility in order to keep up with this pace of change. It's an entirely different mindset that you have to bring to bear. So what a network organization is it's a compelling opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to be more of a learning organization, to be more nimble, to change more rapidly. It's your ability to move wisdom, learning, knowledge out to the fringes of your enterprise faster than a competition, to shorten your learning loop, to share the good, the bad, and the ugly faster. If you can do that and become a learning organization, then I believe in this new world, you'll be more adaptive and have an adaptive culture, have a culture that can allow you to take more risk and thereby be more successful and to win in the marketplace. So this evolution is critical, I believe, to the long-term success and viability of the enterprise. That's what I believe. So as these businesses have evolved, and I think business has to evolve because it's this global mindset, and global used to be the top, but now it's going to be networked. A network has nodes and it has hubs. And quite honestly, there's no center in a network. There is no center. A network is flat. And hubs are centers of excellence. If you decide that the center of excellence in your company in gaming, let's say, is South Korea, then let them do it in South Korea for the whole world. But my goodly, wire your organization up so that you can share that information and learning and knowledge and best practices out as quickly as possible. That's what we're doing now. So we've got to break. I would argue then the future of marketing is to break with the traditional siloed structures, corporate structures, and create more flexibilities for individuals to adapt to these changes and for the opportunities. That's where I believe, and I don't think this is true just for businesses. I think this is true for all enterprises, quite honestly, that attaching into these networks will be the key. The internal network, a strong internal network, it means a strong and positive learning organization. It means allowing your people to take risk and fail. It means success and failures are shared all around on a daily basis. That's a cultural issue more than anything else. It's very great for me to stand up and tell you the great success of the World Cup. It's a lot harder for me to say, you know what, this didn't work, and let me tell you why. Culturally, that's difficult in any large organization, but you have to have that in order to be successful. Centers of excellence scale, better work around the world faster. That's the future with less redundancy. That's the future, particularly in a large global enterprise where scale is so critical. I wanted to show you one example of this that was very internal, which we scaled very quickly. It's what we call the Share a Coke program. This thing started down in Australia about 4 years ago. The people in Australia called me up and say, Joe, we want to take the name of Coca-Cola off the product. I said, what? Are you kidding me? Are you guys crazy? What are you doing down there? You're too much on the beach down there. You know, and we just want to put people's name. We're going to take the 150 most popular first names in Australia and we're going to put them on the bottle. And I got to get my head around this. But then when I said, but the execution risk is massive. So then once we got comfortable with it, we understood our ability to execute it, this is what it became. Let me show you a quick video on it.
Your name on a can of Coca-Cola. That's what we did on bottles across Australia. Kate, Dave, Jessica, Jake, the top 150 names in Australia printed on our cans and bottles. The campaign generated buzz and it drove shoppers to retail stores, looking for their name, looking for their friends' names, and when they found it, they Facebooked, tweeted, Instagrammed it, and they got excited. Personalised Coca-Cola, to provoke a little happiness and engage the market.
That program was so successful, about a year later, we scaled it into Europe with 25 countries. We've now scaled it into a total of 50 countries. May or may not come to the US, stay tuned, very soon. But the whole point is, it was a strong integrated program. We learned the good, the bad, and the ugly out of that. And in a networked organization, big ideas and great ideas can travel very quickly. If there's no barrier to people saying, well, I didn't think of that, so I'm not going to use it. So if people are receptive, then you can do that. So I would only argue, I wish it also had been, it went to China, it went to Japan, it went to Europe. I only wish that instead of it taking, let's say, 4 or 5 years to go around the world, it would have gotten around the world in 2 or 3 years. That's how we would fine-tune the network, so it's like a finely tuned, F1 car. That's how we need to get better as a company. I wanted to show you a clever, as Russia's been in the news a lot lately, just wanted to show you a quick ad that I really enjoyed recently. So people in Russia combined a World Cup program and activation with Share a Coke. And I know that this is a very sophisticated global audience, so you'll understand this ad. And just how the creativity at a local level of how they combined the Share a Coke program with the names on the bottles with the FIFA activation. Let's play that.
Вливайся в мировой футбол. Поддержи наших.
That was the Russian national team coach playing with the names of his players on the pitch there, moving them around. So I think the reason I show that is just that in an internal networked organization that's wired up, you can get great ideas that combine, would seem like, how do I mix and match that? But then ultimately can lead to 1 + 1 = 3. But in a great internal network that's totally wired up, these kind of things can move around very quickly. The next thing I want to talk about is the external network. And this is challenge that's critical to us. And it represents a huge opportunity, huge need for success with all companies. And it really gets to the heart of the shared value proposition. And thinking about, you just can't, if every company is just focused on its own internal success, you're not going to be successful, because at the end of the day, you've got to be focused on, when I talk about the new EPS, it's economic success, it's partner success, and it's social success. Those are the new dimensions of the new EPS, quite honestly. And in this world, this external world, you have to manage all these different external influencing factors. Now, this happens to be, let's say, a little map of the town that Coke is managing now, with NGOs. There are some of these that every big company is managing. Beth is managing these for GE. Other large companies are managing them. But customers, NGOs, governments, ministers of health, ministers of sport, rights holders, agencies, media, opinion elites, social influencers, agencies, investors, celebrities. All of these are this universe of external forces that you have to actively engage and manage. Just like we manage and have a relationship with Walmart or McDonald's, we've got to manage these people. Because in this world, of a networked world, the one person in an NGO with a megaphone called the internet can destroy your business. And so part of being a successful and a viable marketing organization, or any organization going forward, is your ability to manage your external networks. I'm absolutely convinced of this, that this is a huge part of success going forward. And it so happens that for us, for the Coca-Cola company, this is our challenge. It's managing all the external network as it relates to the global obesity epidemic. And if we're not actively managing that and leading with truth and scientific fact in this debate, then our detractors' voice will exceed ours. And so we have to be ahead of it as opposed to react to it. Now, every large company will have their own obesity issue, whatever it happens to be for their industry. But it has to be proactively managed as opposed to being a punching bag and let it happen to you. This is the new world, because the game changer is the world, the network, and the ability of one individual to take your business up or down. And so fundamentally then, the last part that you have to manage is consumer networks. The consumer network has to be wired, it has to be very active, it has to want a two-way conversation with people, with the brands. That's what the new consumers want. And the way in we engage with and manage our consumer networks becomes more important. I'm absolutely convinced that the digitizing of our asset, the digitization of our asset base, what's going to be more valuable? A vending machine that's sitting as a dumb vending machines without any connectivity, or a vending machine that's connected to 1,000 other vending machines in an area? What's going to be more powerful? It's the connected machine. So digitizing and connecting your asset base. In our particular case, we have a lot of assets, but in other companies also have huge amounts of assets. It allows people to get in and have more personal experiences with our product. It allows them to gain data on people more. It allows us to have a closed loop on loyalty programs. All of those things are things on how we can reimagine our assets and help managing this consumer network, which really represent commonalities of interest that consumers have. That's where this is all going from my perspective. So fundamentally, our world and all the people world, it's all digitally connected now. It's kind of this digital ecosystem. And beyond just participating in social networks, we need to completely rethink our whole corporate structure, quite honestly. We have to reimagine ourselves, fundamentally reimagine ourselves as a social network, or in Coca-Cola's case, as a social business system. And we also have to look at this whole new world of marketing, the world that I said, we can't be stuck in a 1980s with a lot of great 1980s and 90s brand builders, but we're in the 21st century where skills like big data and analytics, design, digital, e-commerce, mobile, gaming, all those are skills. Social, sustainability are more and more important and critical skills. If we're not skating where the puck is going with those skills and building those in our organizations, then we're going to have a big problem. So our workforce we have to, as leaders, ensure that our workforce is evolving with those new skills. Otherwise, we're going to have a big problem. And so, creating this kind of efficiently networked organization, in my view, is critical to success going forward. And developing your digital fluency and proficiency, that's a big part of our future. But, I would say this, you have to have a relevant voice in the world. You have to have a powerful and emotional connection voice in the world. All the data in the world doesn't matter unless you have an emotional connection with people and with the consumer. Good marketing is still always going to be about the soul of your brand. Do people connect with the soul of your brand, the heart and soul of your brand? And it requires a certain amount of passion, and it requires people and brands to have the courage to lead culturally and to speak with a certain voice that may make people in your company uncomfortable. And so I wanted to end by showing you a great example that we thought was a great example for our company of cultural leadership. It's an ad that we showed in the Super Bowl this year and created a huge amount of stir socially, but it was an ad that we were very proud of.
So beautiful for spacious skies, por tus olas de granos ámbar, yo piscina zakuti, sa ibabaw ng mga prutas. America, America, God shed His grace on thee. Orba hijre ke saath taj tera cha, de la mer brilla. Verra tu verrière tir from sea to shining sea.
That ad created, the worst thing in life is when your brand sits in the middle and people don't have an opinion on it. I would tell you that there was a group of the population that your haters went up, the people who loved you more, but the people in the middle moved dramatically more positive. The worst thing is to market to be a marketer that's scared and not be afraid to take risks and not be bold. And I think fundamentally, the future Hall of Famers who stand on that will understand that they need to, not only to activate the power of these new networks that I've talked about, but that they have to, do they have the courage in their organizations to be cultural leaders with their brands, to take those risks, to stay relevant, to make sure that they're true and authentic and transparent to consumers, because that's what the new consumer is going to want. So for those of you who do, I think the future is very optimistic, and I think for all those marketers, I think the future will be very, very positive. So I would say, here's to the optimists. Thank you very much.